Imagine you're standing in a room full of people. The chatter around you is low, but your eyes are constantly scanning, absorbing everything. You notice the way someone adjusts their posture, the slight raise of an eyebrow, the nervous tapping of fingers, or a sudden shift in a person's gaze. Without realizing it, your mind is already starting to decode the meaning behind these movements. These subtle signals are part of the world of nonverbal communication, where actions often speak louder than words. Welcome to the fascinating realm, where your body, face, and voice create a silent but powerful language. You may not always be aware of it, but every gesture, glance, or tone conveys a message, sometimes even more than what's said aloud. The moment you step into a conversation, whether it's with a colleague, a stranger, or a loved one, you're surrounded by these invisible yet deeply impactful cues. Nonverbal communication is at the heart of how we connect with others, often revealing emotions, intentions, and truths that words alone can't capture. Nonverbal communication includes a broad range of behaviors: body language, facial expressions, vocal tone, posture, eye movements, and even subtle things like micro-expressions or hand gestures. It is a dynamic force that works in tandem with what we say, adding depth to the message being conveyed. In fact, research suggests that up to 93% of communication can be nonverbal, meaning the words you choose are only a small part of what truly connects you with others. Understanding this deeper layer of communication gives you the ability to influence relationships, enhance empathy, and navigate social interactions with ease. Nonverbal cues aren't just a side note in human interaction. They are integral to how we understand each other. Have you ever had a conversation where someone's words didn't match their actions? Maybe their voice seemed confident, but their body language was stiff, or their eyes darted around nervously. These inconsistencies can create confusion, or, conversely, they can help reveal the truth. Body language can enhance the verbal message or betray it, offering a clearer picture of what someone is truly feeling. For instance, consider the smile on someone's face. It might seem like a simple, positive gesture, but take a closer look. Are the eyes crinkling with genuine joy? Or is the smile merely a polite gesture that doesn't reach the eyes? A genuine smile reflects happiness or contentment, while a forced one could suggest discomfort or reluctance. Such nuances, whether intentional or unconscious, speak volumes. They tell you how someone is feeling, even if they choose to mask it with words. This section will explore the fundamental aspects of nonverbal communication, starting with the powerful role of body language. By learning how to read and interpret these unspoken cues, you will unlock the ability to understand others on a much deeper level, far beyond what is said. Understanding nonverbal communication isn't just about reading body movements. It's about embracing a new perspective on human interaction. It's about paying attention to the invisible signals that can often reveal more than words themselves. Picture this. You walk into a room and immediately feel the energy shift. You may not know why, but you can sense that something's off. Maybe a colleague is crossing their arms, a subtle sign of defensiveness or resistance. Perhaps you notice someone leaning forward with an open stance, indicating receptiveness or interest. These are just a few examples of body language, the silent language that speaks louder than any words. Body language refers to the nonverbal signals we use to communicate. It includes facial expressions, posture, gestures, and movements. It's all those little actions that reveal how we feel and what we're thinking. even when we're not speaking. And it's not just about one single gesture or expression. Body language works in clusters, combining several signals that reinforce the message being conveyed. A person who crosses their arms while leaning back in their chair, avoiding eye contact, and remaining still may be signaling disinterest or discomfort. But the same crossed arms could be paired with a relaxed posture and a smile, suggesting that they're simply reflecting or listening carefully. Understanding these signals requires more than just recognizing isolated gestures. It's about noticing the patterns and clusters of behavior, reading the way they work together to communicate a larger message. When you learn to decode body language, you gain insights into how others feel, how they react, and what they really want, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. In any conversation, pay attention to the positioning of the body. Is the person facing toward you, or are they turned slightly away, signaling disinterest or discomfort? How about their hands? Are they open and relaxed, or are they clenched in fists, suggesting anger or frustration? And what about their posture? Are they slouching, indicating a lack of confidence, or are they standing tall, displaying self-assurance? These cues are constantly being sent and received, and by learning to interpret them, you can gain a clearer understanding of someone's thoughts and emotions. Nonverbal communication is not just an accessory to spoken words. It's essential for building trust and creating genuine connections. Think about a time when someone's words didn't match their actions. Perhaps a colleague said they were happy with a project, but their tense posture or lack of eye contact suggested otherwise. In moments like this, the nonverbal signals give you a truer sense of what's going on. What's even more fascinating is how body language can shape our interactions and perceptions of others. Imagine you're meeting someone for the first time. The way they greet you, the firmness of their handshake, the openness of their posture. All of these things affect how you view them, often before a word is even spoken. A firm handshake and a smile can signal confidence and approachability, while a weak handshake and averted gaze may indicate insecurity or disinterest. This is why nonverbal communication is so important. It's at the foundation of human connection. It plays a crucial role in everything, from first impressions to ongoing relationships, both in personal and professional contexts. And once you understand the power of nonverbal cues, you can start to shape your interactions more effectively, ensuring that the signals you send align with the messages you wish to convey. But it's not just about interpreting the body language of others. It's about being aware of your own. How are you presenting yourself to the world? Your posture, gestures, and facial expressions all create an impression, often before you even begin speaking. For instance, a person who stands with their arms crossed and their head down may appear closed off or defensive, even if they're internally open and engaged. On the other hand, standing tall with an open stance and relaxed hands can project confidence and approachability. Becoming aware of your own body language allows you to communicate more effectively, express yourself more clearly, and build stronger relationships with others. The key is to ensure that your verbal and nonverbal messages are aligned, creating a cohesive and authentic communication experience. One of the most fascinating aspects of body language is its universality. While spoken languages differ across cultures, many nonverbal cues remain consistent worldwide. A smile, for example, is universally understood as a sign of happiness or friendliness, regardless of whether the person is speaking English, Mandarin, or Swahili. Similarly, A furrowed brow typically signals confusion or anger, and wide eyes indicate surprise or fear, no matter where you are. This universality of body language provides a common ground for human interaction. It means that even when we don't share a common language, we can still communicate effectively through our nonverbal cues. This is especially important in a globalized world, where people from different cultures and backgrounds interact on a daily basis. Understanding the universal nature of nonverbal communication helps bridge cultural gaps and fosters better understanding between people of all backgrounds. However, while many nonverbal cues are universal, it's important to acknowledge that cultural differences can influence the way body language is expressed and interpreted. For example, in some cultures, direct eye contact is seen as a sign of confidence and respect, while in others, it may be perceived as rude or confrontational. In some societies, a firm handshake is a sign of strength and professionalism, while in others, a more gentle or subdued handshake is the norm. Understanding these cultural variations is key to interpreting body language accurately and avoiding misinterpretations. Nonverbal communication is a powerful tool that can reveal more than words alone ever could. It allows us to connect with others on a deeper level, to understand their emotions, intentions, and reactions in ways that are often beyond their control. By learning to decode body language, you gain the ability to see beyond what's spoken and uncover the true meaning behind every interaction. This is just the beginning of your journey into the world of nonverbal communication. As we move forward in this audiobook, you'll learn to recognize the different types of body language and how they play a critical role in shaping human connections. You'll also discover how to refine your own body language to communicate more effectively and authentically. By understanding and mastering these nonverbal cues, you will gain the tools to navigate any social situation with confidence, empathy, and insight. So, as we continue, keep an open mind, observe the world around you, and start to see the deeper layers of communication that lie just beneath the surface. Now that you've grasped the foundational power of body language, let's dive deeper into one of the most essential forms of nonverbal communication: facial expressions. Think about the last time you had an emotionally charged conversation. Were you aware of the subtle changes in the other person's face, the tightening of their jaw, the slight twitch of an eyebrow, or the way their eyes softened as they listened? Your face is an open book, capable of expressing emotions that often speak louder than words. These fleeting expressions give insight into your true feelings, sometimes without you even realizing it. Facial expressions are perhaps the most immediate form of communication. When someone feels an emotion, whether it's happiness, fear, anger, or surprise, the face instinctively reacts, often before the person has a chance to process or control it. This is because our facial muscles are hardwired to express these emotions, often on a subconscious level. Understanding facial expressions can offer you a deeper understanding of what someone is truly feeling, even when they try to mask it. There are 6 basic emotions that are universally recognized through facial expressions, regardless of cultural or linguistic background. These expressions are the building blocks of emotional communication. As you learn to identify them, you'll become more adept at understanding the emotions of those around you. Let's explore them. 1. Happiness. A genuine smile is a sign of happiness. It's characterized by the lifting of the corners of the mouth and the crinkling of the eyes. This is often referred to as the Duchenne smile, named after the French neurologist who discovered its connection to genuine happiness. When someone smiles in this way, they are likely experiencing positive emotions, whether it's joy, contentment, or amusement. 2. Sadness. Sadness shows itself through a downward turn of the mouth, furrowing of the eyebrows, and a slight drooping of the eyelids. There may be a slight decrease in the intensity of the eyes, conveying a sense of loss or disappointment. This expression is often accompanied by a slump in posture, further emphasizing the heaviness that accompanies sadness. 3. Anger. Anger is typically expressed through narrowed eyes, clenched jaws, and furrowed brows. The lips may be pressed together or curled downward. The face becomes tense, reflecting the internal frustration or rage that the person is experiencing. When you observe anger on someone's face, it's important to be mindful of their posture and gestures as well, which can amplify the intensity of this emotion. 4. Fear. Fear manifests as wide eyes, raised eyebrows, and a slightly open mouth. The face often looks startled or alert, as if the person is preparing to flee or confront danger. You may notice a tightening of the facial muscles as the person processes their fear. The eyes will often be fixated, scanning for a threat. 5. Surprise. Surprise is marked by raised eyebrows, wide open eyes, and a slightly parted mouth. It's a reaction to something unexpected, and the expression can be seen when something catches us off guard, whether it's a pleasant surprise or a shock. The person may not even have time to verbalize their surprise. Their face is a quick giveaway. 6. Disgust. The expression of disgust involves the wrinkling of the nose, a slight curl of the upper lip, and narrowing of the eyes. It's an involuntary reaction to something offensive, whether it's a bad smell, taste, or something morally repugnant. People who are disgusted may instinctively recoil or cover their face as a way to shield themselves from the unpleasant stimulus. These 6 universal facial expressions form the foundation of how we express and interpret emotions. The fascinating thing about them is that they are consistent across cultures. A smile, no matter where you are in the world, is likely to signal happiness, while a furrowed brow universally indicates confusion or anger. These expressions transcend language barriers and allow us to connect emotionally, even when we don't speak the same language. While these 6 expressions are commonly recognized, there's a subtler layer to facial communication that often goes unnoticed. Micro-expressions. These are fleeting, involuntary expressions that last for just a fraction of a second. Micro-expressions are harder to detect, but they can reveal a person's true feelings, especially when they are trying to hide them. They often occur when someone is trying to conceal or suppress their emotions, but their face gives them away. For instance, imagine someone telling you they are fine, but for a brief moment, you catch a glimpse of fear or anger on their face. This split-second reaction, a micro-expression, can be crucial in understanding their underlying emotions. Micro-expressions are particularly useful in detecting discrepancies between what a person says and what they truly feel. To identify micro-expressions, it's important to be highly observant. These expressions can be very subtle, such as a quick furrowing of the brow, a slight tightening of the lips, or a sudden, brief look of panic in the eyes. While it's nearly impossible to catch every micro-expression in real time without focused practice, developing the skill to spot these fleeting facial movements can greatly enhance your ability to decode a person's emotions. It's important to note that no single facial expression can tell you everything you need to know about a person's emotional state. A smile, for example, can indicate happiness, but it could also be a polite gesture, masking discomfort. To get a more accurate understanding, you need to look at body language clusters, groups of nonverbal signals that reinforce one another. These clusters offer a more comprehensive picture of someone's emotional state. Let's say you're having a conversation with someone, and they're nodding as you speak, maintaining steady eye contact, and smiling. These behaviors, when taken together, suggest that they are engaged and enjoying the conversation. However, if their smile is tight, their posture is stiff, and they avoid making eye contact, these signals create a different picture, one that suggests discomfort or even hostility. By paying attention to body language clusters, you can gain deeper insights into a person's emotional state. The combination of facial expressions, gestures, posture, and vocal tone all work together to form a message that is often clearer and more honest than the words being spoken. Now, let's focus on a particular area of facial communication that holds immense power: the eyes, often called the windows to the soul. The eyes can convey a wealth of information about a person's emotional state. Eye movements, such as where a person directs their gaze, how long they maintain eye contact, and even the size of their pupils, can reveal more than words alone ever could. For instance, eye contact is one of the most significant forms of nonverbal communication. It can indicate interest, attraction, confidence, or aggression, depending on the context. Maintaining steady eye contact while speaking signals attentiveness and sincerity. However, avoiding eye contact can suggest discomfort, shyness, or dishonesty. It's essential to interpret eye contact within the context of the situation. Pupil dilation also plays a role in revealing emotions. When someone is interested, excited, or attracted, their pupils tend to dilate. On the other hand, when a person is feeling negative emotions such as fear or disgust, their pupils may constrict. Understanding these subtle cues helps you decode the emotions that may be hiding behind the surface. Additionally, eye movements can give insight into cognitive processes. According to neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, when a person looks upward, they may be accessing visual images or memories. Looking to the side may suggest they're processing auditory information, and downward gaze can indicate they're reflecting internally. Understanding these eye movements helps you read not just emotions, but also the mental processes that accompany them. In the world of human interaction, your face is often the first thing people notice. Whether you realize it or not, your facial expressions are constantly communicating how you feel, what you think, and how engaged you are in a conversation. By paying attention to your own expressions and the expressions of others, you can enhance your ability to connect and build rapport. However, don't be fooled into thinking that facial expressions are always straightforward. Sometimes, people may mask their true emotions with a controlled expression. A person might smile to hide their discomfort, or they may appear calm while their inner thoughts are racing. This is why it's important to consider the context and look for clusters of cues to accurately interpret someone's emotional state. As you continue to learn the art of decoding human behavior, remember that facial expressions are just one piece of the puzzle. While they provide valuable insights, it's essential to combine them with other nonverbal signals, like body language, vocal tone, and eye movements. By integrating all of these elements, you can develop a nuanced understanding of a person's true feelings and intentions. Understanding facial expressions is like unlocking a hidden layer of communication. Every smile, frown, or raised eyebrow holds meaning, often revealing more than words can say. By honing your ability to read facial expressions, you gain a powerful tool for understanding the emotions and intentions of those around you. But remember, the key to truly decoding behavior lies in looking at the bigger picture, recognizing clusters of nonverbal cues, considering the context, and practicing empathy. The more you observe, the more you'll uncover the deeper layers of communication. As we move forward in this journey, you'll gain the tools to decode not only facial expressions, but also the broader spectrum of nonverbal signals that shape human interactions. As you venture deeper into the world of nonverbal communication, it's time to turn our attention to one of the most subtle, yet powerful, elements of human interaction: gestures and posture. These silent messages carry vast amounts of information, often shaping the way we perceive someone long before they even open their mouths. Think about the last time you were in a meeting, a conversation, or even just in a group setting. You likely observed the way people stood or moved, how their hands and arms were positioned, and the overall openness or defensiveness of their posture. These body movements, which might seem insignificant on the surface, can give you a deeper understanding of how someone is truly feeling. In many ways, gestures and posture are the external expressions of our internal states. When we're happy, confident, or engaged, our bodies naturally reflect these emotions in the way we carry ourselves. On the other hand, when we're anxious, defensive, or closed off, our bodies communicate this just as clearly. By paying attention to these movements, you can begin to see beyond the surface of what someone is saying and start to understand their true thoughts and feelings. Gestures are one of the most widely used forms of nonverbal communication. These movements of the hands, arms, and body often accompany speech, but they can also be used independently to express emotions, emphasize points, or convey meaning. Consider how someone might wave their hands when excited, shrug their shoulders when unsure, or point at something to direct attention. These actions are an essential part of communication, helping us to connect with others and emphasize the significance of our words. What's particularly interesting is that gestures can be universal or culturally specific. Some gestures, like a thumbs up or a wave, are widely recognized and understood across cultures. However, others can vary greatly depending on cultural norms and expectations. For instance, the peace sign is generally seen as a positive gesture in many parts of the world, but in certain countries, it can be seen as offensive when the palm is facing inward. Understanding the cultural context of gestures is critical for effective communication, especially when interacting with people from diverse backgrounds. In addition to cultural differences, gestures can also be deeply personal. People often have individual ways of expressing themselves through their movements. One person may use a lot of hand gestures when speaking, while another may keep their hands still. These individual habits can reveal a lot about a person's character, emotions, and level of comfort in a particular situation. For example, someone who frequently gestures with open palms may be perceived as honest, open, and approachable, while someone who keeps their hands hidden or folded may come across as more reserved or defensive. If gestures are the words of body language, then posture is its sentence. The way we carry ourselves says a lot about how we feel, how we want to be perceived, and how we relate to others. Posture can communicate confidence, aggression, insecurity, openness, or resistance. all without a single word being spoken. Consider the difference between a person who stands tall, with their shoulders back and head held high, versus someone who slouches, hunched over with their eyes cast down. The person with the upright posture exudes confidence and self-assurance, while the person slouched over may be signaling disinterest, discomfort, or a lack of confidence. Of course, the context matters. Someone who is slumped because they're tired might not be conveying the same emotional message as someone who is slouched because they're feeling insecure. Posture can also reflect the emotional state of a person in real time. For instance, someone who is nervous may fidget, shift their weight, or cross their arms, all signs that they're feeling tense or guarded. Conversely, someone who is comfortable in a situation may have a more relaxed posture, with their arms at their sides or resting on a chair. These subtle clues offer a deeper layer of insight into how someone is feeling or what they're thinking, allowing you to tune in to emotions and intentions that may not be verbally expressed. One of the most powerful aspects of posture is its ability to convey power dynamics. In social situations, people often use posture to assert dominance or submission. For example, individuals who take up more physical space, such as by sitting with their legs spread wide or standing with their chest puffed out, tend to signal authority and dominance. Conversely, someone who keeps their body more closed off, with their arms and legs crossed or their body turned away, may be signaling a desire to retreat or protect themselves. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a conversation with someone, you tend to adopt similar postures or gestures to theirs? This is called mirroring, and it's an unconscious behavior that helps build rapport and strengthen connections between people. Mirroring occurs when you mimic the body language of the person you're interacting with, whether it's matching their posture, gestures, or facial expressions. Mirroring is an instinctual part of human communication, and it helps establish trust and empathy. When we mirror someone's behavior, we're signaling that we're in sync with them and that we share a similar emotional state. For instance, if you're talking to someone who is sitting with their arms crossed and leaning forward, you might instinctively adopt a similar posture. This subtle act of mirroring can create a sense of harmony and make both parties feel more comfortable in the interaction. Interestingly, mirroring is often more pronounced in situations where we feel a connection with someone, whether it's a romantic partner, close friend, or colleague. It's a way of showing alignment and reinforcing the bond between two people. However, it's important to note that mirroring should feel natural and not forced. When it's done too overtly or deliberately, it can come across as insincere or awkward. One of the most fundamental distinctions in posture is the difference between open and closed posture. Open posture signals receptiveness, comfort, and confidence, while closed posture suggests defensiveness, discomfort, or a desire to withdraw. These two types of posture are often the first indicators of someone's emotional state and can give you insight into how they're feeling in a given situation. An individual with an open posture will often have their arms uncrossed, their body facing toward others, and their legs spread comfortably. They may lean slightly forward when speaking, indicating interest or engagement. In contrast, a person with a closed posture might cross their arms, tuck their hands, or turn their body slightly away from others. These subtle signs suggest that the person may be feeling guarded, anxious, or not entirely open to the interaction. It's important to note that body posture is fluid It can change throughout a conversation based on the person's emotional state or the dynamics of the situation. Someone who starts with a closed posture due to nervousness may gradually adopt a more open stance as they become more comfortable. By paying attention to these shifts, you can gain a better understanding of the emotional journey someone is on during a conversation and adjust your behavior accordingly. When it comes to gestures, the hands are perhaps the most expressive part of the body, from waving to pointing, to touching one's face or adjusting one's clothing. Hand gestures communicate messages that words alone cannot. These movements can serve to emphasize a point, signal excitement, or convey confusion. They are integral to how we express ourselves, especially when words fail. For instance, someone who is talking passionately about an idea might gesture frequently with their hands, using broad, sweeping motions to underline their excitement or to drive home their point. This kind of gesture can make their message feel more dynamic and engaging. Conversely, when someone is feeling uncertain or anxious, they might engage in more self-soothing gestures, like wringing their hands or touching their neck. These movements indicate a lack of confidence or discomfort with the conversation. What's interesting about hand gestures is that they often become more pronounced when we are trying to emphasize a particular idea or emotion. For example, when a person is telling a story and feels particularly invested in a part of it, their hand movements may become larger, more expressive, or more rapid. In contrast, when someone is recounting a less engaging or emotional story, their gestures may be smaller or almost non-existent. Gestures and posture aren't just about how you physically position yourself. They are reflections of your inner emotional state. From a raised hand to a crossed arm, every movement and posture you adopt speaks volumes about how you feel and what you're trying to communicate. By paying attention to these signals, you can develop a more accurate understanding of the people you interact with, whether they're aware of it or not. As you continue your journey in decoding human behavior, remember that gestures and posture are essential pieces of the puzzle. By observing them carefully, you can not only gain insight into how others feel, but also enhance your ability to connect with them on a deeper, more meaningful level. Next, we'll dive into another powerful aspect of nonverbal communication: eye movements. The eyes truly are the windows to the soul, and by learning to read them, you can unlock even more about what's happening beneath the surface. In this section, we'll explore one of the most essential aspects of human communication: eye movements. The eyes are often referred to as the windows to the soul, and for good reason. They're not just passive organs that help us see. They're active communicators, offering a wealth of information about our thoughts, emotions, and intentions. When you look into someone's eyes, you're not just observing a physical feature. You're tapping into an emotional and cognitive state that can tell you more than words alone. Think about a time when you were talking to someone who couldn't maintain eye contact with you. How did that make you feel? Did it make you question whether they were being truthful, or if they were uncomfortable with the conversation? Eye movements, or the lack thereof, can profoundly affect how we perceive others. The eyes can reveal whether a person is interested, engaged, anxious, or even hiding something. By learning how to read these subtle yet powerful signals, you'll gain a deeper understanding of what's happening beneath the surface of a conversation. Eye contact is one of the most universally recognized forms of nonverbal communication. It is a key indicator of interest, attentiveness, and engagement in a conversation. When you maintain steady eye contact with someone, you're signaling that you're present, focused, and interested in what they have to say. But eye contact isn't just about looking at someone. It's about the quality and duration of that contact. In many Western cultures, maintaining eye contact is seen as a sign of confidence and respect. People who look you in the eye while speaking are generally perceived as trustworthy, assertive, and engaged in the conversation. However, in other cultures, prolonged eye contact can be perceived as rude or confrontational. In some Asian cultures, for instance, people may avoid prolonged eye contact, especially with authority figures, as a sign of respect. While cultural norms play a role in how we interpret eye contact, it's important to remember that eye contact is deeply tied to emotional states. If someone maintains intense eye contact, it could indicate that they're interested or even attracted to you. But if they avoid eye contact or look down, it could signal discomfort, dishonesty, or a lack of confidence. A person who can't look you in the eye might also be feeling anxious, guilty, or uncertain about the situation. Eye movements can also reveal much about how we think. According to neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, where a person looks can indicate what kind of information they're accessing. For example, when someone looks upward, they might be recalling visual memories or constructing a mental image. If they look to the side, they may be processing auditory information, like sounds or voices. Looking downward, on the other hand, can indicate that someone is reflecting internally or trying to access emotions. These movements aren't just coincidental. They provide clues about how a person is processing information. For instance, when someone looks upward and to the right, they may be visualizing something, like recalling a picture or imagining a scenario. If they look to the left, it might mean they're accessing auditory memories, such as remembering a conversation. These subtle clues can help you understand how someone is thinking and what they're focusing on. It's important to note, however, that these patterns are not universally applicable. Eye movements can be influenced by personal habits, mood, and individual differences. For example, a person might always look upward when they're thinking, regardless of what type of information they're processing. But by paying attention to these movements, you can begin to identify certain patterns and make more accurate guesses about what's going on in someone's mind. One of the most fascinating aspects of eye movements is pupil dilation. When we experience emotions like excitement, attraction, or fear, our pupils naturally dilate. This is an involuntary response that occurs due to changes in the autonomic nervous system. When we're interested in something, whether it's a conversation or a person, our pupils may dilate as a sign of heightened arousal or engagement. On the other hand, when we're feeling negative emotions like fear, stress, or discomfort, our pupils may constrict. Pupil dilation is a particularly subtle but powerful indicator of a person's emotional state. Research has shown that our pupils dilate when we're exposed to something that excites or intrigues us. For example, when someone is looking at something they find attractive or interesting, their pupils may grow larger. Similarly, when we feel threatened or anxious, our pupils may shrink, signaling a fight or flight response. While pupil dilation is not a foolproof sign of a person's emotions, it's a valuable tool for reading nonverbal cues. By observing changes in pupil size, you can gain insights into how a person feels during a conversation or interaction. It's important to remember, though, that pupil dilation can be influenced by external factors, such as lighting conditions or drug use. So it's essential to consider other cues alongside pupil changes. In addition to eye contact and pupil dilation, The rate of blinking can also provide insights into a person's emotional state. Blinking is a natural and automatic response, but the frequency of blinking can vary depending on how a person feels. When someone is anxious or nervous, they may blink more frequently. This is often due to increased stress or a heightened emotional state. On the other hand, when someone is calm and comfortable, their blinking rate tends to slow down. Excessive blinking or rapid eye movement can also be a sign of discomfort or dishonesty. When people are lying or trying to avoid a difficult subject, they may blink excessively as a result of the stress or cognitive load involved in creating a false narrative. Conversely, if someone's blinking rate suddenly decreases or they stop blinking altogether, it could indicate that they're highly focused or engaged in the conversation. Where someone directs their gaze can tell you a lot about their intentions or interests. For example, when people are engaged in a conversation, they typically maintain eye contact or look at the person speaking. However, if someone's gaze drifts away or they look towards the door, this could signal disinterest or a desire to escape the conversation. Similarly, if someone's gaze shifts downward while they're talking, they may be feeling vulnerable, insecure, or guilty. People also tend to look at the things they find most interesting or important. If someone's gaze frequently shifts toward a particular object, person, or area in a room, it could indicate that they're mentally focused on that subject. On the flip side, if their gaze is unfocused or wandering, it may suggest that they're distracted or disengaged. By paying attention to where someone's gaze is directed, you can gain a better sense of what's on their mind and how they're responding to the conversation. Ultimately, the eyes provide a direct and unfiltered window into someone's emotional state. When you understand how to read eye movements, you can gain a much deeper understanding of what someone is feeling, even when they aren't saying a word. Whether it's the intensity of their gaze, the size of their pupils, or the way their eyes dart around the room. These subtle eye movements reveal more than you might think. By paying attention to these nonverbal cues, you can become a better listener, observer, and communicator. You can learn to pick up on the hidden signals that lie beneath the surface, allowing you to respond with greater empathy and understanding. The eyes are not just a tool for seeing. They are a powerful form of communication in their own right. Eyes are much more than just windows to the world around us. They are also windows to our inner worlds. By learning how to decode eye movements, you can unlock a treasure trove of information about a person's emotions, intentions, and cognitive state. Whether it's the intensity of their gaze, the direction of their eye movements, or the size of their pupils. These nonverbal cues offer a deeper, richer understanding of what's going on beneath the surface. As you continue to develop your skills in reading nonverbal communication, remember that the eyes are a crucial piece of the puzzle. By combining your understanding of eye contact, pupil dilation, blinking, and gaze direction, you'll be able to decode the true emotions of those around you, even when their words don't match their feelings. In the next section, we'll dive deeper into micro-expressions, those tiny, involuntary facial movements that reveal a person's true emotions in the blink of an eye. Stay tuned as we explore this fascinating and powerful aspect of human behavior. As we continue our exploration into the vast world of nonverbal communication, we now shift our focus to an area that holds incredible power, yet is often overlooked: micro-expressions. These tiny, fleeting facial expressions occur in less than a second, but can speak volumes about what a person is truly feeling. In a world where words can be carefully chosen and controlled, micro-expressions are the unintentional windows into a person's raw, unfiltered emotions. They don't lie. Imagine this. You're having a conversation with someone, and they tell you they're fine. But just for a brief moment, you catch a flash of anger or sadness on their face. It's gone in an instant. But you saw it. Those few milliseconds when their true feelings peeked through the surface. This is the power of micro-expressions. And they're not just important for detecting hidden emotions. They're essential in understanding the dynamics of human interaction at a deeper level. Micro-expressions are unconscious and brief facial expressions that last for only a fraction of a second. They occur when a person tries to suppress or mask an emotion, but their facial muscles involuntarily reveal what they are really feeling. These expressions are so brief that they often go unnoticed, but they carry profound meaning. Whether it's a fleeting grimace, a brief flash of a smile, or a quick narrowing of the eyes. Micro-expressions can tell you what someone is thinking or feeling before they have the chance to hide it. The interesting thing about micro-expressions is that they are universal. Unlike other forms of nonverbal communication, which may vary across cultures, micro-expressions are consistent across all human beings, regardless of their background or cultural context, whether you're in the United States, China, or Brazil. The micro-expression of anger, such as furrowing the brow and tightening the lips, looks the same. This universality makes them an incredibly powerful tool for reading people, as they transcend language barriers and cultural differences. Psychologist Paul Ekman is widely regarded as the leading authority on micro-expressions, and his research identified 7 universal micro-expressions that appear across all cultures and represent basic human emotions. These micro-expressions are tied to primal emotions that are hardwired into our biology, and recognizing them can give you deep insight into what a person is really feeling. Let's take a closer look at each one. 1. Happiness. The micro-expression of happiness involves the contraction of the muscles around the eyes, along with a smile that reaches the corners of the mouth. This expression is often accompanied by crow's feet around the eyes. The Duchenne smile, as it is known, is genuine and is linked to true feelings of joy, contentment, or amusement. 2. Sadness. When someone experiences sadness, their eyebrows furrow and their mouth turns downward. The eyes may also droop or appear less focused, and the expression conveys a sense of loss, disappointment, or sorrow. This brief expression can reveal someone's true feelings, even if they are trying to hide their sadness. 3. Anger. The micro-expression of anger involves lowering and furrowing the eyebrows, along with narrowing the eyes. The lips may be pressed tightly together or curled downward. This expression reflects frustration, hostility, or rage, and it often appears when someone is experiencing heightened emotions or stress. 4. Fear. A fearful micro-expression is marked by raised eyebrows, wide open eyes, and a slightly open mouth. The face becomes alert, as if preparing to react to a perceived threat. This brief expression signals that someone is feeling anxious, nervous, or afraid. 5. Disgust. The micro-expression of disgust involves a wrinkling of the nose, an upward curl of the upper lip, and narrowed eyes. It often appears when someone encounters something offensive or repulsive, whether it's a bad smell, taste, or something morally distasteful. 6. Surprise. Surprise is characterized by raised eyebrows, wide open eyes, and an open mouth. This expression usually appears when something unexpected happens. Whether it's a pleasant shock or a sudden startling event, it's an instinctive reaction to the unfamiliar. 7. Contempt. Contempt is a micro-expression that reveals disdain or disrespect. It involves a slight curl of one side of the mouth, often accompanied by a subtle raising of one eyebrow. This expression typically signals feelings of superiority, condescension, or disgust toward another person. By understanding these 7 universal micro-expressions, you gain the ability to read someone's emotions almost instantaneously. These expressions are involuntary, meaning they often emerge before a person can consciously control them. While they may be brief, their emotional impact is profound. The challenge with micro-expressions is that they are incredibly brief. They can flash across a person's face in as little as 1/25th of a second, which makes them difficult to catch without focused attention. However, the good news is that with practice, you can train yourself to spot these fleeting signals and decode people's true feelings more accurately. So, how do you recognize micro-expressions in real time? The first step is observation. Pay close attention to the subtle movements of the person's face, especially around the eyes, mouth, and brow. Watch for slight changes that may seem almost imperceptible. You might notice a quick twitch of the lips, a brief narrowing of the eyes, or a fleeting drop in the shoulders. These movements are clues that something deeper is going on beneath the surface. Next, practice with video footage. There are numerous resources available, including online courses, videos, and even apps that focus on training you to spot micro-expressions. These videos often slow down the footage so you can see the micro-expressions more clearly. By practicing with these resources, you can begin to develop the skill to recognize micro-expressions in real-life situations. Lastly, focus on context. Micro-expressions, like all nonverbal cues, don't exist in isolation. They are influenced by the situation, the individual's baseline behavior, and their relationship with you. For example, if you're in a conversation and someone flashes a brief look of fear, it might indicate that they are worried about the topic you're discussing. On the other hand, if they show a momentary smile followed by a flicker of contempt, it may signal that they are masking their true feelings of superiority. One of the most powerful uses of micro-expressions is in detecting deception. When people lie, they often try to mask their true emotions. However, these suppressed emotions tend to leak out in the form of micro-expressions, providing a window into their true feelings. For instance, a person who claims they are happy but shows a brief flash of disgust on their face may not be as pleased as they claim. Or someone who says they're confident but quickly flashes a micro-expression of fear may be hiding insecurities. Recognizing these emotional discrepancies is key in understanding whether someone is being truthful or deceptive. Micro-expressions are often a telltale sign of emotional leakage, when a person's true feelings surface despite their best efforts to hide them. By learning to read these small but telling clues, you can improve your ability to navigate complex social interactions and assess the honesty of others. While micro-expressions are powerful, they are not foolproof indicators of truth. There are several factors that can influence the accuracy of your interpretations. First, micro-expressions can vary from person to person. Some individuals may have less pronounced facial movements, while others may have more exaggerated expressions. It's important to consider the baseline behavior of the individual, what their normal expressions look like, before making conclusions. Additionally, Micro-expressions must be interpreted in context. For example, if someone suddenly flashes a brief look of disgust, it could be because they find something in the conversation unpleasant, but it could also be because they've eaten something sour. Similarly, a brief look of fear might be due to an unexpected question or something happening in the environment, not necessarily a sign of dishonesty. Finally, cultural and personal differences can also play a role in how micro-expressions manifest. While the basic emotions are universal, cultural norms often dictate how much emotion is displayed on the face. In some cultures, people are taught to suppress their emotions, while in others, emotional expression is more encouraged. This means that micro-expressions in different cultural contexts may vary in intensity or frequency. Micro-expressions are a fascinating and invaluable tool in decoding human behavior. They offer an unfiltered glimpse into a person's emotions, often revealing what's really going on beneath the surface. Whether you're trying to detect deception, understand someone's true feelings, or simply enhance your communication skills. Learning to recognize and interpret micro-expressions can elevate your ability to connect with others. As you continue to develop your ability to read people, remember that micro-expressions are just one piece of the puzzle. They work in conjunction with other nonverbal cues, such as body language, posture, and eye movements, to give you a fuller picture of someone's emotional state. In the next section, we will dive into emotional contagion, how emotions can transfer from one person to another, often without us even realizing it. This powerful concept is another key aspect of understanding human behavior, and it's something you'll want to master to improve your communication and relationships. Now that we've unlocked the secrets of micro-expressions, it's time to delve into another fascinating facet of human behavior: emotional contagion. This phenomenon refers to the unconscious transfer of emotions between individuals. Think about the last time you were in a room full of people, perhaps a social gathering, a meeting, or even a family dinner. You may have noticed that the mood of the room seemed to shift suddenly. Maybe someone started laughing, and before you knew it, others were laughing too. Or perhaps a person expressed frustration, and suddenly, others began to mirror that frustration. This is emotional contagion at work. In essence, emotional contagion is the reason why you might feel an overwhelming sense of happiness or sadness just by being in the presence of others. It's a form of nonverbal communication that happens without conscious effort, often without words or even eye contact. It's not just about mimicry, either. Emotions can spread so quickly and subtly that it can feel as though we're infected by the emotions of those around us. By understanding emotional contagion, you can learn to navigate social situations more effectively, harness positive emotions, and protect yourself from the negative ones. Emotional contagion is a natural and deeply rooted process that stems from our mirror neurons. These neurons in our brain are responsible for mimicking the actions, emotions, and behaviors of others. When you see someone express an emotion, whether it's a smile, a frown, or tears, your mirror neurons cause you to feel a similar emotion. This is why it's easy to catch emotions from others. It's a biological response that is hardwired into us. For instance, when you observe someone smiling and laughing, your brain automatically mirrors the happiness they're expressing, and you may feel your mood lifting as well. This is emotional contagion at its most positive, but the reverse is true, too. If someone is visibly upset, anxious, or angry, their negative emotional state can influence you, even if you weren't initially feeling those emotions yourself. Emotional contagion is not just about big, overt emotions. It also works on more subtle levels, influencing your mood and behavior in ways you might not even notice. Research has shown that emotional contagion can occur through various channels, such as facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, and even pheromones. When someone's mood shifts, the emotional energy in the room can change as well, often without anyone having to say a word. You may notice that your mood follows the collective emotional state of the people around you, which can affect how you respond to situations, interact with others, and even make decisions. The emotions of others can guide your behavior in powerful, unconscious ways. One of the most interesting aspects of emotional contagion is how quickly it can occur. You might have witnessed this during a group activity or a family gathering, where the mood shifts based on a single person's emotional state. But emotional contagion isn't always a group experience. It can happen even on a one-on-one level. For instance, if you're talking to someone who is angry, you might start feeling tense or frustrated yourself, even if the conversation has nothing to do with you. This is because you are subconsciously picking up on their emotional state. So, how do you recognize when emotional contagion is happening? It's all about paying attention to subtle cues. A person's facial expressions, posture, and body language are all signals that can influence your emotional state. For example, if someone walks into a room with a huge smile, their positivity can lift the entire group's energy. On the flip side, if someone is visibly upset, their anxiety can spread to those around them. Recognizing emotional contagion in action can help you become more mindful of how others' emotions affect you. In social interactions, if you start feeling emotions that seem to come out of nowhere, it's worth stopping and asking yourself, what emotion am I picking up from the person I'm interacting with? By identifying the emotional contagion, you can better regulate your own emotional state and avoid being swept up by negative feelings. While emotional contagion can spread negative emotions, it can also be a powerful tool for spreading positive feelings. You've likely experienced this in moments where a person's joy, excitement, or laughter lifts the energy in a room. When people are emotionally open, positive feelings like happiness, enthusiasm, and excitement become contagious. This is especially evident in group settings, where collective joy can boost morale, strengthen connections, and create a sense of unity. If you are in a leadership role or just trying to improve your social interactions, understanding the mechanics of emotional contagion can be incredibly helpful. By consciously cultivating positive emotions and sharing them with others, you can influence the emotional tone of a group and create a more uplifting environment. Imagine walking into a room full of people with a smile and open body language, making eye contact, and using a warm tone of voice. This kind of positive emotional contagion can create a ripple effect, encouraging others to mirror your behavior and elevate the mood of the entire group. This principle is also essential in negotiations, team building, and leadership. Leaders who maintain a positive, confident, and optimistic demeanor can influence their teams to feel the same. Similarly, a person who projects calmness and control in a tense situation can help to diffuse anxiety and encourage others to feel more at ease. The ability to generate and spread positive emotions is a powerful tool in creating strong, cohesive relationships and fostering cooperation in both personal and professional settings. On the flip side, emotional contagion isn't always a force for good. Negative emotions can spread just as quickly, if not faster, than positive ones. Have you ever found yourself in a room where the mood suddenly felt tense or heavy, and you weren't sure why? Often, this shift in atmosphere is the result of negative emotional contagion. When one person in a group expresses frustration, fear, or anger, these emotions can rapidly spread to others. You might notice that everyone becomes more guarded, defensive, or uneasy, even if the negative emotion wasn't directed at them personally. Negative emotional contagion is particularly common in situations where there's a perceived threat or high stakes. In these circumstances, fear, anxiety, and frustration can trigger a collective emotional response, causing the group to become more reactive and less rational. This is why it's essential to be mindful of your own emotions in group settings. If you're feeling frustrated or upset, you may unintentionally pass on those feelings to others, influencing the group dynamic in a negative direction. Understanding the impact of negative emotional contagion can also help you protect yourself. If you find yourself in a situation where negative emotions are running high, try to take a step back and assess whether you are picking up on someone else's feelings. It can be helpful to ground yourself emotionally, acknowledging the emotions you're feeling while reminding yourself that they may not necessarily be your own. This awareness can help you avoid becoming caught up in negative emotions and stay focused on constructive responses. Emotional contagion plays a significant role in both professional and personal relationships. In the workplace, the mood of the team can be influenced by one person's emotional state. A leader who is calm, confident, and emotionally stable sets the tone for the entire group, whereas someone who is stressed, anxious, or negative can undermine the morale of the team. The emotional climate of a workplace can impact productivity, collaboration, and overall job satisfaction. Understanding emotional contagion allows leaders and team members to intentionally create a positive atmosphere that encourages teamwork, creativity, and mutual support. In personal relationships, emotional contagion can either strengthen or weaken the bond between individuals. When two people share similar emotional states, they are more likely to feel connected and understood. This is why couples or close friends often mirror each other's emotional expressions. Empathy and emotional resonance help create a deeper connection. On the other hand, if one person in a relationship is perpetually negative, it can wear down the other person, causing strain and tension. Understanding the dynamics of emotional contagion can help individuals protect their mental well-being by recognizing when negative emotions are being transferred and taking steps to counteract them. While emotional contagion is a natural process, it's important to recognize the ethical implications of intentionally spreading emotions, whether it's in the workplace, in relationships, or in social interactions. It's essential to be mindful of how your emotional state might affect others. Intentionally manipulating others' emotions, especially in negative or harmful ways, is a violation of trust and can damage relationships. Emotional contagion should be used responsibly to foster empathy, understanding, and connection, rather than to manipulate or control others. By being aware of how emotions spread and influence the people around you, you can take charge of your emotional environment. Rather than unconsciously absorbing others' emotional states, you can choose to regulate your own emotions and influence those around you in a positive direction. This is one of the most empowering aspects of emotional contagion. You have the ability to create emotional harmony and resilience in any situation. Emotional contagion is one of the most powerful forces in human interaction, whether you're aware of it or not. Your emotions affect those around you, and theirs affect you. By understanding how emotional contagion works, you can become more mindful of how you influence others and how others influence you. Whether you're using positive emotions to lift the mood of a group or protecting yourself from negative emotional contagion, awareness is key. In the next section, we will dive into another crucial aspect of decoding human behavior: reading body language clusters. These clusters of nonverbal cues provide a more comprehensive understanding of a person's emotional state than individual gestures or expressions alone. Stay tuned for a deeper exploration of how to read the entire language of the body in one glance. In the previous sections, we've delved into the profound depths of human emotions, learning how to read eye movements, micro-expressions, and emotional contagion. Now, it's time to focus on a particularly powerful tool for decoding human behavior: body language clusters. Imagine walking into a room and instantly reading the atmosphere. You notice a group of people standing together, and one person seems uncomfortable. Their arms are crossed, their posture is stiff, and they seem to be avoiding eye contact. But it's not just one of these gestures, it's the combination of all of them. This is what we call a body language cluster, a group of nonverbal cues that, when observed together, reveal a person's emotional state more accurately than any single gesture could. The power of body language clusters lies in the fact that they are holistic. One individual gesture or movement might be ambiguous, but when you observe a cluster of behaviors happening simultaneously, you can uncover the deeper meaning behind someone's emotions. Clusters give you a fuller, richer understanding of a person's internal state, helping you interpret their feelings and intentions with greater precision. A single gesture or facial expression may not provide enough context to understand a person's emotions. For instance, crossed arms could indicate defensiveness, but they might also be a sign of simply feeling cold. Similarly, avoiding eye contact might suggest dishonesty, but it could also signal nervousness or shyness. It's only when you combine multiple signals, such as posture, facial expression, and body orientation, that you get a more accurate picture of a person's emotional state. This is why focusing on clusters of behavior is so crucial. Body language clusters are more reliable because they reflect a combination of unconscious, involuntary signals. For example, if someone is crossing their arms, frowning, and leaning away from you during a conversation, these signals are more likely to indicate discomfort or disagreement than if only one of those gestures were present. It's the synergy of these nonverbal cues that makes the cluster so insightful. There are a few key body language clusters that can help you decode someone's feelings and intentions with greater accuracy. Let's break them down and examine the different clusters to look out for. 1. Discomfort or disinterest cluster. This is one of the most common body language clusters you'll encounter. When a person is uncomfortable or uninterested, they may display a combination of the following behaviors. Crossed arms or legs. This often signals defensiveness, insecurity, or a desire to create a barrier between themselves and others. Leaning back or turning away. A person who leans away from you or faces away from the group might be trying to distance themselves emotionally or physically. Lack of eye contact or gazing around the room. Avoiding eye contact is a clear signal of discomfort, disinterest, or evasiveness. If you notice these signs happening simultaneously, it's likely that the person is uncomfortable or disengaged. This could be in response to a topic of conversation, the environment, or simply a lack of interest in the interaction itself. 2. Confidence and openness cluster. When someone is feeling confident, relaxed, and open, their body language will likely reflect these emotions through the following behaviors. Open posture. Their arms and legs will be uncrossed, and their body will face the other person. This posture suggests receptiveness and willingness to engage. Leaning forward. A slight lean toward the other person indicates interest, engagement, and attentiveness. Smiling and relaxed facial expressions. A warm, genuine smile, especially one that reaches the eyes, signals comfort and friendliness. Steady eye contact. Maintaining good eye contact without staring can demonstrate confidence, trustworthiness, and active engagement. When you see a person exhibiting these signals together, it's a good indication that they are confident and comfortable in the situation. This body language cluster can help you gauge the mood of the room and the emotional state of those involved. 3. Stress or anxiety cluster. Stress and anxiety manifest in distinct body language behaviors that can be identified through clusters of gestures. Look for the following cues. Fidgeting or nervous movements. This includes tapping fingers, shifting weight, or playing with objects. These movements are signs of restlessness or anxiety. Pacing or excessive shifting. A person who is anxious may pace back and forth or constantly adjust their position in their seat. Tight or tense posture. When someone is anxious, their body may become stiff or rigid, their shoulders may rise, and their neck might become tense. Avoiding eye contact. As with the discomfort cluster, anxious people may avoid eye contact, but this time, the avoidance is driven by nervousness or a desire to hide their feelings. When these signs appear together, it's a strong indication that the person is feeling stressed or anxious. They may be uncomfortable with the situation, or they could be nervous about something in their environment. 4. Deception cluster. Spotting deception through body language is one of the most sought-after skills in nonverbal communication. While no single gesture can definitively prove someone is lying, certain clusters of behaviors can provide valuable clues. Common signs of deception include inconsistent facial expressions. When someone is lying, their facial expressions may not match their words. For example, a person may say they are happy, while their face shows signs of stress or discomfort. Frequent touching of the face. People who are trying to hide the truth may touch their face, especially around the mouth or nose, more frequently than usual. This is a subconscious attempt to mask their emotions. Contradictory body language. A liar may give off signals that don't align with what they are saying. For example, they might shake their head while affirming something verbally, or they might smile when talking about something serious or distressing. Increased fidgeting or shifting in place. When someone is nervous about being caught in a lie, they may become restless or uncomfortable, often shifting their weight or adjusting their body position. These behaviors, when noticed together, can indicate that a person may be trying to deceive you. However, it's important to remember that these signals are not always foolproof. People may exhibit some of these signs even if they are not lying, so it's important to consider other factors before jumping to conclusions. While individual body language signals can provide some insight, it's the combination of cues that gives you a clearer, more accurate understanding of a person's emotional state. By looking for clusters of behaviors, you can avoid the pitfalls of misinterpretation. For instance, a person who is sitting with their arms crossed and their body turned away might appear disengaged. but when you also notice their gaze fixed on you and a slight smile. It suggests they are simply feeling shy rather than disinterested. The key is to watch for patterns and discrepancies. If a person's body language is incongruent with what they are saying, it's a red flag that their true feelings might be different. For example, a person might tell you they are excited about an opportunity, but their stiff posture and lack of eye contact suggest hesitation or discomfort. In this case, the cluster of nonverbal cues paints a more accurate picture than their verbal words. Another important consideration when interpreting body language clusters is context. Nonverbal cues don't exist in a vacuum. They are influenced by the situation, the environment, and even the cultural background of the individual. For instance, in a formal setting, a person might maintain a more reserved posture, but in a casual setting, they might relax their body language and open up more. By understanding the context in which body language is displayed, you can avoid misinterpretation. Cultural norms also play a significant role in how people express themselves non-verbally. In some cultures, direct eye contact is a sign of respect, while in others, it may be seen as disrespectful or confrontational. Similarly, a person's personal background and personality will influence their body language. A naturally introverted person may exhibit closed-off body language even when they're comfortable, while an extroverted individual might show more open and expressive gestures. As you continue your journey of decoding human behavior, remember that the more you observe body language clusters, the better you'll get at understanding them. Practice by watching people in various settings, at work, in social situations, or even in movies or TV shows. Pay attention to the clusters of behaviors that you observe and how they relate to the emotions and intentions of the people involved. One effective way to improve your skills is to take notes and reflect on your observations. After interacting with someone or witnessing a conversation, jot down the body language cues you noticed and consider what they might mean. Over time, you'll become more attuned to these signals, and you'll be able to read body language with greater accuracy. Body language clusters are an invaluable tool in understanding human behavior. When you learn to recognize and interpret clusters of nonverbal cues, you gain a deeper, more nuanced understanding of what someone is truly feeling or thinking. These clusters help you move beyond surface-level observations and uncover the emotional landscape of a conversation. In the next section, we will shift our focus to tone of voice and speech patterns, which are just as important as body language in conveying hidden emotions. The way someone speaks, their pitch, pace, and rhythm can reveal a lot about their true intentions. Stay tuned for an exploration of vocal cues and how they can help you decode human behavior. In the previous sections, we've examined the visual cues that play such an important role in understanding human behavior: microexpressions, emotional contagion, and body language clusters. However, another powerful, often underappreciated aspect of human communication is the vocal cues we use. Our voices are much more than just vehicles for words. They carry with them a rich array of nonverbal signals that can reveal our true emotions, intentions, and state of mind. Just as body language and facial expressions can be read for hidden meaning, so too can the tone of our voice, the speed at which we speak, and the rhythm of our speech. By learning to interpret these vocal cues, you can gain deeper insight into a person's inner world. This section is all about understanding vocal cues, how things are said, not just what is said. Let's dive into how these vocal elements, from pitch to pauses, can shape and influence the way we perceive and connect with others. In face-to-face communication, much of what we convey to others isn't communicated through words alone. Instead, our tone of voice, pitch, volume, and rhythm play pivotal roles in how our message is received. These vocal elements are like the music behind our words. They add depth, emotion, and meaning to the conversation. When you think about it, imagine someone saying, "I'm fine," in two very different ways. One person says it in a flat, monotone voice, with no emotion attached. Another person says it with a tremor in their voice, rising slightly in pitch as they emphasize the word "fine," accompanied by a pause after. The words are the same, but the emotional context is completely different. The first person likely doesn't mean what they say, while the second is clearly hiding something. This illustrates the power of vocal cues in determining the emotional undertones of what's being communicated. Pitch refers to the highness or lowness of your voice, while tone refers to the emotional quality or character of your voice. Both can be powerful indicators of emotional states. A person's voice can shift in pitch based on what they're feeling, and the tone of their speech adds layers to those emotions. Here's how you can read the emotional implications of pitch and tone. 1. High pitch. A high pitch often indicates heightened emotions, whether it's excitement, nervousness, or anxiety. When we are excited, our voices tend to go higher in pitch, and we may speak more quickly. Conversely, a high-pitched voice that becomes shrill may suggest distress or anxiety. This is why nervousness can be heard in someone's voice when they speak faster and with a higher pitch than usual. For example, consider someone explaining a story and suddenly raising their pitch when describing a surprising or dramatic part of the story. This high pitch serves as a vocal clue to the listener that the speaker is emotionally invested in what they're saying. 2. Low pitch. A low pitch, on the other hand, can signify calmness, confidence, or even sadness. It's often associated with deeper, more stable emotions. Think about how people speak when they're angry. Their tone can drop in pitch, and they may speak more slowly, almost as if measuring each word. A lower pitch also conveys authority or seriousness. Just think of how leaders, actors, or orators might intentionally lower their voices to command attention or create a sense of gravitas. 3. Tone of voice and emotional nuances. Tone refers to the emotional quality in one's voice. It can be warm, cold, cheerful, angry, sarcastic, or caring. Tone adds depth to the words we speak and provides context for the message. For example, someone saying, "I'm fine," in a warm, soothing tone likely means they are genuinely content or at ease. But if the same words are spoken in a cold, sharp tone, they may suggest the speaker is frustrated, hiding something, or perhaps even upset. The tone can completely change the meaning of what's being said. This is why tone of voice is often one of the first things we pick up on when we're reading someone's emotions. Tone reflects internal states, whether it's positive or negative. Even if someone is saying all the right words, a discordant tone can immediately signal that something deeper is going on. Next, let's turn our attention to volume, how loudly or softly a person speaks. Volume often correlates with the intensity of the emotion someone is feeling. It's one of the most direct ways we can tell if someone is expressing strong emotions. 1. Louder volume. When people are speaking louder than usual, it's often an indication of heightened emotion, such as excitement, anger, or stress. A raised voice can signify enthusiasm or confidence, but it can also signal aggression or frustration. For example, when someone is raising their voice during a heated argument, their words may become louder and more intense. This increase in volume can help convey the urgency and seriousness of their feelings. Loud speech may also be used to assert dominance. In group settings or meetings, individuals who speak loudly may do so to project authority or to ensure they are heard. But this can also suggest that they want to control the conversation. 2. Softer volume. Conversely, a softer voice is often associated with introversion, hesitation, or a desire to avoid conflict. People who speak more softly may be feeling vulnerable, shy, or uncertain. A quiet voice can also indicate discomfort or avoidance, as the speaker may be trying to hide their true emotions. In tense situations, someone may speak softly in an attempt to calm themselves or to de-escalate a potential conflict. Additionally, soft speech can suggest sincerity and intimacy. Think about a close conversation with a friend, partner, or family member, where you might speak softly to convey care, affection, or sympathy. The rhythm of someone's speech, the speed at which they talk, also plays a significant role in conveying their emotional state. Speech rhythm is closely tied to the pacing of thoughts, and it can reveal whether someone is relaxed, rushed, or under pressure. 1. Fast speech. When someone speaks rapidly, it often indicates excitement, nervousness, or anxiety. People who are excited about something often speak quickly as they share their thoughts and feelings. It's almost as though their words can't keep up with the pace of their emotions. Fast speech can also signal that someone is nervous and trying to get their words out quickly, perhaps because they are uncomfortable with the situation. In some cases, people who speak too quickly might be attempting to distract from something. If they are nervous or trying to conceal something, their increased pace might be an attempt to cover up emotional tension. 2. Slow speech. On the opposite side, slow speech can suggest calmness, contemplation, or even sadness. When someone speaks deliberately, they are taking the time to choose their words carefully, often reflecting the need for thoughtfulness or restraint. In situations where someone is sad or mourning, they may slow their speech to match the heaviness of their emotions. Similarly, if someone is angry, they may slow down their speech as a way of controlling their rage or choosing to speak more deliberately to avoid saying something they might regret. Slow speech can also reflect a lack of interest. When someone speaks slowly and with long pauses, they may be disengaged or feeling disconnected from the conversation. This can be especially noticeable in formal settings or during meetings, where a slow, drawn-out response can indicate apathy or disinterest. While pauses may seem like a minor aspect of speech, they are incredibly important when it comes to reading emotional cues. The way a person pauses during speech, the timing, duration, and frequency can reveal a great deal about their mental state and emotional processes. 1. Pauses indicating hesitation. When someone pauses while speaking, it may signal that they are unsure about what they're saying. These hesitations often occur when someone is trying to think carefully about their words or is unsure how to express themselves. A person may pause because they are considering their next words or are weighing the consequences of what they're about to say. These pauses can also suggest discomfort or conflict. When someone pauses too long or repeatedly, it may indicate that they are avoiding saying something, perhaps because they feel vulnerable or conflicted about the topic at hand. 2. Pauses for reflection. On the other hand, pauses can also be a sign of deep thought or reflection. When someone pauses after making a point, it may be because they are giving time for the idea to sink in or for the listener to absorb the information. These pauses can indicate that the speaker is engaged in the conversation, carefully processing the dialogue and reflecting on the emotional impact of their words. When it comes to detecting deception, vocal cues are some of the most telling indicators. As with body language, liars often exhibit subtle changes in their voice that can be caught with careful observation. Some vocal cues that may indicate deception include higher pitch. When people lie, their voices often rise in pitch due to the stress and anxiety that comes with being deceptive. Increased speech rate. A liar may speak more quickly than usual to avoid uncomfortable pauses and to cover up the lie. Excessive filler words. When someone is lying, they may use filler words like you know, or well, more often as they try to buy time to think of a convincing answer. Changes in volume. A liar may increase their volume to assert confidence, or, conversely, lower their volume to avoid detection. Vocal cues are a vital component of nonverbal communication, offering insights into emotions, intentions, and even deception. Understanding the nuances of pitch, tone, volume, rhythm, and pauses can help you decode what people are really feeling or thinking, even when their words say otherwise. In the next section, we'll take a look at how vocal cues combine with other nonverbal signals, such as body language and facial expressions, to form a more complete picture of someone's emotional state. By honing your ability to understand and interpret these cues, you'll be able to communicate more effectively, build stronger relationships, and enhance your emotional intelligence. Now that we've mastered the subtleties of vocal cues, it's time to take a deeper dive into the intricate world of reading emotional signals. This section will guide you through two powerful and often subconscious processes, micro-expressions and emotional leakage, that can offer profound insight into a person's emotional state. These signals operate at a level that is often beneath conscious awareness, yet they can reveal a lot more about what someone is feeling than their words or overt behaviors ever could. Understanding how to read these emotional signals will elevate your ability to decode human behavior, allowing you to not only understand what others are communicating nonverbally, but also to gain a deeper understanding of yourself and your own emotional responses. At the forefront of emotional signals are micro-expressions, brief, involuntary facial expressions that last for only a fraction of a second. They are often hard to detect with the naked eye because they are fleeting, but they can reveal a person's true emotions, even if they're trying to conceal them. These tiny expressions occur in response to an emotional experience, and they typically reveal emotions like happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust. Micro-expressions are universally recognized across all cultures, and they occur regardless of whether the person is trying to hide their feelings or not. Think about a situation where someone is telling you they're fine, but their face betrays them by briefly showing signs of distress or discomfort. This is a micro-expression at play. It's a momentary flicker of the face that reveals their true emotional state. While micro-expressions are subtle, they can be recognized through certain key facial features. Eyebrows. Raised eyebrows can indicate surprise or fear, while furrowed brows often signify anger or confusion. Eyes. Wide eyes often suggest surprise or fear, while narrowed eyes can be a sign of suspicion or anger. Mouth. A tight or downturned mouth can indicate displeasure or sadness, while an upturned smile can signal happiness. Cheeks. The movement of the cheeks can also reveal emotional states. For example, the small muscles around the eyes contract when someone is smiling genuinely, not just with their mouth. Recognizing these fleeting micro-expressions requires a keen eye and a lot of practice. Start by paying close attention to people's faces during conversations, focusing on their expressions for just a moment or two. Try to spot patterns, looking for the telltale signs of a true emotion hidden behind words or actions. While micro-expressions are often seen as the hidden leak of emotions, there's another form of leakage that's just as important to understand: emotional leakage. This term refers to the subtle, often unconscious signs of a person's emotional state that leak out, even when they are trying to hide or suppress them. Emotional leakage is a powerful tool for decoding human behavior, as it provides an unintentional window into a person's feelings and thoughts. Emotional leakage can happen in various forms, including facial expressions. Even if someone is trying to hide their emotions, certain facial muscles may still give away their true feelings. For instance, a person may try to maintain a neutral face, but could have slight muscle tension around the mouth or eyes, signaling stress or discomfort. Body language. When people try to mask their emotions, their body often betrays them. They might cross their arms in an attempt to appear calm or relaxed, but this can indicate defensiveness or discomfort instead. Similarly, nervous pacing or fidgeting can leak out signs of anxiety, even if they are verbally denying it. Vocal tone. Even if a person is trying to sound calm, their voice might crack, quiver, or raise in pitch, giving away their underlying anxiety or fear. One of the most revealing signs of emotional leakage happens when there's an inconsistency between a person's words and their body language or facial expressions. For example, if someone tells you they're excited, but their posture is hunched, their arms are crossed, and their tone is flat, this could be a sign that their emotions are not in alignment with what they're saying. To spot emotional leakage, you need to pay close attention to the whole picture, not just the words that are being said. This includes looking at facial cues. Observe for subtle muscle tension, eye movement, or brief changes in expression that may indicate suppressed emotions. Body language. Watch for incongruent gestures, such as crossing arms when someone is saying they are open or relaxed. Involuntary gestures like scratching, rubbing the neck, or shifting weight can also reveal discomfort. Vocal inconsistencies. Listen for inconsistencies between the tone of voice and what's being said. For example, a person might be saying, "I'm fine," but if their voice quivers or becomes strained, this could be a sign that they are not being entirely truthful. Context is essential when reading emotional leakage. A person who shows signs of leakage might not always be hiding something malicious. Sometimes it's simply that their emotions have leaked out because they're overwhelmed or fatigued. This is why understanding the context of the situation is just as important as the signals themselves. Interestingly, emotional leakage also plays a role in emotional contagion, that unconscious transfer of emotions between people. If someone is struggling to hide their true feelings, you might find yourself picking up on those feelings, even if they're not directly expressed. This is emotional contagion at work. It's the reason why you can feel anxious when someone in the room is stressed, or why you can feel lifted when someone is in a genuinely good mood. The concept of emotional contagion ties into emotional leakage in the sense that leaked emotions can be caught by those around us. If someone's discomfort, frustration, or joy is leaking out through their nonverbal cues. You might find yourself unintentionally mirroring or internalizing those emotions. This is especially true in close relationships, where emotional bonds are stronger. If you're close to someone who is trying to mask their feelings, it can be almost impossible not to pick up on their underlying emotions, even if they don't verbalize them. Their emotional leakage is felt by you, often without either of you consciously recognizing it. The key to mastering emotional signals, whether they're micro-expressions or emotional leakage, is awareness. By learning to read these subtle cues, you can gain a deeper understanding of others, strengthen your relationships, and improve your emotional intelligence. The more you practice recognizing these signals, the more adept you will become at interpreting emotions and responding in ways that are empathetic and meaningful. In social settings, being aware of emotional signals can enhance your communication and make you more attuned to the needs of others. If you sense that someone is hiding their true feelings, you can ask the right questions or offer support without them needing to say anything explicitly. In professional settings, understanding these cues can help you gauge the mood of a meeting, detect potential issues with team dynamics, and navigate tricky negotiations. To improve your ability to read emotional signals, start by observing people in various settings, whether it's at work, social events, or even during one-on-one conversations. Take note of how people's emotions leak out, whether through their facial expressions, body language, or tone of voice. Practice identifying the incongruences between what they're saying and how they're behaving. This exercise will sharpen your ability to detect when someone's emotions are not aligned with their words. Another useful practice is to observe your own emotional leakage. Pay attention to how your emotions manifest physically when you're trying to hide them. Do you fidget, speak more quickly, or look away when you're nervous? Being mindful of your own emotional signals will help you identify those same signals in others and improve your ability to decode their behavior. Micro-expressions and emotional leakage are invaluable tools in the quest to decode human behavior. These signals reveal our true emotional states, often before we have a chance to hide them. By learning to read these subtle cues, you can gain a more accurate understanding of how people are feeling, allowing you to build stronger connections and communicate more effectively. In the next section, we'll turn our attention to a crucial area of human behavior, detecting deception, whether it's in a conversation, negotiation, or relationship. Knowing how to spot the signs of lying can give you the upper hand in understanding someone's true intentions. Stay tuned for an in-depth exploration of how to read deception through body language, vocal cues, and emotional signals. In the previous sections, we've explored the hidden world of emotions, how micro-expressions and emotional leakage provide us with subtle but profound insights into a person's true feelings. These nonverbal cues are often unconscious and reveal more than what is being said aloud. But what if a person's intent is to deceive you? What if they're actively trying to manipulate the information they share with you? This section will focus on a critical skill: detecting deception. By understanding the signs of lying and manipulation, you'll be better equipped to navigate conversations, negotiations, and relationships with greater accuracy and confidence. Deception is a complex behavior, and although there is no single foolproof indicator, a combination of verbal, vocal, and nonverbal cues can give you valuable insights. Detecting deception is not about looking for one isolated sign, but rather identifying patterns and inconsistencies in behavior. As you become more adept at reading these cues, you'll be able to see beyond the words people speak and uncover what they're truly feeling or hiding. Before we jump into the specific signs of deception, it's important to understand why people lie and how their behavior changes when they're being deceptive. People lie for a variety of reasons: to protect themselves, avoid conflict, gain an advantage, or manipulate others for personal gain. But the stress of lying, coupled with the need to cover up the truth, can lead to physical and psychological changes that are often detectable through subtle behavioral signals. When someone lies, their brain becomes stressed because it has to manage the conflicting demands of telling the truth and fabricating a story. This stress manifests itself through several nonverbal cues, such as changes in voice, body language, and facial expressions. Our bodies often betray us when we try to mask our true feelings, and by learning to identify these subtle cues, we can become more proficient in detecting when someone is not being truthful. While there is no surefire way to detect a lie, there are several behavioral patterns and clusters of cues that commonly occur when people are being deceptive. Let's break down some of the most reliable signs to look out for in both body language and speech patterns. 1. Inconsistent facial expressions. Facial expressions are one of the most revealing indicators of deception. Our faces are naturally expressive, and even if someone is trying to control their emotions, small discrepancies often appear. Pay attention to micro-expressions, those fleeting, involuntary facial expressions that can betray true feelings. For example, someone may say they're happy or relaxed, but if their mouth is smiling while their eyes are narrowed or their eyebrows are furrowed, there is likely an emotional disconnect. This could indicate they are masking their true feelings, possibly because they're lying. Inconsistencies between what a person is saying and how their facial expressions behave can also be a red flag. If someone's words suggest one emotion, but their facial expression suggests another, they may be hiding the truth. For example, if someone says they are excited, but their eyes appear dull, or they fail to show genuine enthusiasm in their expression, their emotional state may not match their words. 2. Changes in body language. Body language is often where the most noticeable signs of deception appear. A person who is lying may display signs of discomfort or anxiety that they try to hide. Some common deceptive body language cues include touching the face. When people lie, they often touch their face, especially around their mouth or nose. This can be an unconscious attempt to cover up their true emotions or thoughts. Increased fidgeting. A liar might become more restless, shifting their weight, tapping their feet, or fidgeting with objects in their hands. These movements are signs of nervousness and discomfort that often accompany deceit. Crossing arms or legs. When a person crosses their arms or legs, it can indicate defensiveness or a desire to create a barrier. If this body language is present while someone is telling a story, it could suggest they're not being open or truthful. Turning away. A person who is uncomfortable with the situation may physically turn their body away from you, which can indicate that they are trying to distance themselves emotionally or physically from the conversation. 3. Voice changes. One of the most telling signs of deception is a change in a person's voice. When we lie, our voices become strained or more difficult to control due to the emotional stress of fabrication. Some common vocal cues of deception include increased pitch. A higher pitch can be a sign of nervousness or anxiety. When people lie, the stress of the situation can cause their voice to rise in pitch, often unintentionally. pauses, and hesitations. When someone is fabricating a story, they may pause frequently, searching for the right words or trying to avoid contradictions. If a person takes longer than usual to respond or is filled with hesitation while answering a question, it could signal deception. Excessive filler words. Liars often use filler words like like, and to buy themselves time while they try to think of a believable response. These verbal tics may also be an attempt to delay answering or to mask nervousness. Unusual speech patterns. Liars may speak more quickly or more slowly than usual in an attempt to cover up their discomfort or to control their pace. The way they structure their sentences may also become disjointed as they attempt to fabricate details on the fly. 4. Inconsistency between words and actions. One of the most powerful indicators of deception is a discrepancy between words and actions. A person may say one thing, but display behaviors that contradict what they are claiming. For example, if someone claims to be confident, but their body language is tense, their arms are crossed, or their voice cracks. These are clues that the person may not be entirely truthful. Similarly, if someone claims to be happy, but their facial expression is flat, or they avoid eye contact, their words are not aligned with their internal state. This incongruence between verbal and nonverbal cues is often the clearest indication that something is off. When you notice contradictions between a person's verbal communication and their body language or tone, it's worth paying closer attention to what they're not saying. Deceptive people often have difficulty maintaining consistent signals across both verbal and nonverbal channels. 5. Excessive detail or vagueness. When someone is lying, they may either provide excessive detail to make their story seem more convincing, or, conversely, be vague and avoid providing specific details. The goal is often to make the story sound more real, or to avoid the possibility of being caught in a lie. Excessive detail. Liars may offer unnecessary information that seems unrelated or irrelevant to the story. They may do this in an attempt to make their account sound more plausible or to distract from inconsistencies. Vagueness. On the other hand, some liars might be deliberately vague, providing as little information as possible to avoid getting caught in a contradiction. They may avoid specifics or refuse to answer certain questions directly. If a person's story is either too detailed or lacks sufficient detail, it's worth questioning whether the story is true. The real challenge of detecting deception is not about finding one isolated cue, but about recognizing clusters of behaviors that indicate something is amiss. By paying attention to inconsistencies in speech, facial expressions, body language, and vocal tone, you can gain insight into the person's true emotional state and intentions. When you notice discrepancies, don't jump to conclusions too quickly. It's essential to consider the context in which the conversation is happening, the relationship you have with the person, and whether they have a pattern of behavior. Some people may naturally exhibit signs of anxiety or nervousness that could be mistaken for deception, especially in high-stress situations. To improve your ability to spot deception, practice observation regularly. In everyday interactions, try to focus not just on the words being spoken, but also on the nonverbal cues that accompany them. Over time, you'll develop an instinct for identifying deception and will become more confident in your ability to read people accurately. Deception detection is a critical skill in both personal and professional settings. By learning to identify inconsistencies between words, body language, and vocal tone, you can gain a more accurate understanding of someone's true intentions. While deception is not always easy to spot, a combination of behavioral cues can help you navigate conversations with greater awareness, allowing you to make more informed decisions. In the next section, we'll explore how to interpret personal style and clothing choices, another powerful nonverbal cue that reveals important aspects of a person's personality, values, and emotional state. Understanding how to read clothing and appearance can offer you an even deeper level of insight into human behavior. As we continue our exploration of nonverbal communication, we now turn our attention to personal style, an often overlooked but powerful form of expression. Every day, we make choices about how we present ourselves to the world, and these choices speak volumes about our personality, emotions, and how we want to be perceived by others. Our clothing, hairstyles, accessories, and overall grooming tell a story without uttering a single word. Understanding these elements can give you a more complete picture of who someone is, and even offer insight into their emotional state or mental well-being. Clothing, in particular, is a universal form of nonverbal communication. While the specifics of fashion may change over time or vary by culture, the way people choose to dress is inherently tied to their identity. Whether we're dressing for work, social events, or just casual outings, our choices are an expression of how we feel about ourselves and the way we want to interact with the world around us. By learning to read and understand these personal style cues, you can gain deeper insights into the unspoken messages people are sending about themselves. This section will delve into how to decode personal style and use it to interpret the signals others are giving you, often more accurately than words alone could. Personal style is deeply tied to self-perception and self-expression. What we wear, how we style our hair, and the accessories we choose all reflect our sense of identity and the way we want to be seen by others. This form of nonverbal communication is far more telling than many realize. People may dress a certain way for functional reasons, to fit into a workplace, for example. But they may also dress a certain way to express their emotional state or personality. A person who dresses in bright, bold colors may be signaling a confidence or a desire to stand out, while someone in more muted, dark tones may be communicating a desire for comfort or privacy. When you examine someone's clothing, you're looking at more than just fabric and fit. You're decoding a story of who they are, how they feel, and what they want to convey. Let's break down some key aspects of personal style that reveal hidden layers of communication. 1. Color choices, the emotional palette. Color is one of the most powerful tools for expressing emotion, and it's an essential part of personal style. Colors can evoke specific emotional responses, not just in the wearer, but also in those observing them. The colors people choose to wear often carry deep psychological meaning, and they can provide clues about their emotional state. Red, often associated with power, passion, or anger. Red is a bold and attention-grabbing color. A person wearing red may want to be noticed or may be feeling confident, assertive, or even aggressive. Blue, known for its calm and trustworthy qualities. Blue is often worn by individuals who want to appear reliable, calm, or thoughtful. A person wearing blue might be in a state of contentment or peace. Black, often associated with formality, elegance, or mourning. Black can signal seriousness, elegance, or even emotional withdrawal. When someone wears black, it may suggest they are feeling reserved, powerful, or stoic. Bright colors, yellow, pink, orange. These colors are often seen as optimistic, energetic, or expressive. People wearing these colors may be feeling joyful, adventurous, or ready to engage with others. Bright colors can often signal someone who is outgoing or extroverted. Earth tones, brown, olive green, beige. These colors often convey a sense of stability, humility, and groundedness. Individuals who wear earthy tones may want to project an image of being down-to-earth or reliable, while color alone doesn't tell the whole story. Paying attention to the hues people wear can offer a clue about their inner emotional state or how they want to be seen. 2. Fit and style, reflecting personality and mood. How a person wears their clothing, whether it's tight, loose, tailored, or oversized, can reveal a lot about their personality and emotional state. Consider these aspects of fit and style. Well-tailored clothing. Clothes that fit perfectly often signal a person who is detail-oriented, disciplined, or even ambitious. These individuals may take pride in their appearance and may project an image of control and confidence. Loose or baggy clothing. While baggy clothes may simply be a matter of comfort, they can also signal a person who is seeking to hide or protect themselves. Loose clothing may be worn by someone who is feeling emotionally withdrawn, self-conscious, or introverted. Oversized or trendy clothes. A person wearing oversized, trendy clothes may be trying to make a statement or express their individuality. This may indicate a desire to be seen as bold or nonconformist, or even a playful attempt to attract attention. The fit and style of clothing provide a window into how a person feels about their body and how they want to be perceived by others. A person who chooses loose or oversized clothes may be signaling discomfort with their physical appearance or a desire to keep a low profile, while someone who wears tailored clothing may be focused on creating a more polished or professional image. 3. Grooming. The small details matter. When we look at someone's grooming, how they've styled their hair, whether their nails are clean, or how they've applied makeup, we're not just noticing aesthetics. Grooming is a nonverbal cue that conveys a person's level of self-care, emotional health, and even their mental state. A well-groomed person often signals that they are feeling confident, organized, or even happy. On the other hand, a lack of grooming or disheveled appearance may suggest that someone is going through a difficult time, feeling stressed, or lacking self-esteem. Here are a few examples of how grooming might reflect a person's emotional state. Well-groomed appearance. A person with a neat hairstyle, clean nails, and appropriate clothing often conveys a sense of control, confidence, and self-respect. These individuals likely feel positive about their external image and may be in a stable, confident emotional state. Disheveled or unkempt appearance. On the other hand, someone who appears disheveled, perhaps with messy hair, wrinkled clothes, or unshaven, may be going through an emotional rough patch. They could be feeling overwhelmed, distracted, or unfocused. Unkempt grooming might also indicate depression or apathy towards self-care. It's important to remember that everyone has different standards and expectations when it comes to grooming, so context is critical. However, noticing a person's grooming habits can help you understand how they're feeling on the inside, even if they don't say a word. 4. Accessories, the subtle indicators. What about the small details, the jewelry, watch, belt, or bag someone chooses to wear? These seemingly insignificant accessories are often part of a person's personal style, and they can say a lot about their personality, interests, and even their emotional state. Expensive or flashy accessories. Someone wearing high-end jewelry or designer clothes might be signaling their desire for status, recognition, or wealth. Alternatively, flashy accessories can indicate a desire for attention and admiration. Minimal or no accessories. On the other hand, someone who wears minimal accessories or chooses to go without them might be signaling that they are modest, unconcerned with material wealth, or comfortable with simplicity. In some cases, this can indicate someone who prefers a more introverted or humble lifestyle. Accessories are often personal choices, but they can also reflect a person's emotional disposition. Someone who wears vibrant accessories might be expressing their enthusiasm or creativity, while someone with neutral, understated accessories might prefer a more reserved or practical approach to life. Personal style is not a one-size-fits-all concept. Cultural factors play a huge role in shaping how people present themselves. Different cultures have different standards of beauty, fashion trends, and expectations regarding personal appearance. These standards can significantly influence how a person dresses and presents themselves, making cultural awareness a key aspect of decoding personal style. For example, in Western cultures, people often express individuality and status through fashion. Bright, bold clothing may be seen as a way to stand out, while more formal dress codes are often tied to professionalism. In contrast, in many Eastern cultures, modesty is a core value, and personal style may lean towards more subdued, conservative clothing that adheres to cultural or religious norms. To apply your knowledge of personal style, pay attention to the clothes people wear in different contexts, at work, during casual interactions, or at social events. Note how their style shifts according to the situation, and consider how their clothing might reflect their emotional state or intentions. For example, workplace attire. A person who wears a formal suit or professional attire likely wants to convey authority and competence. They may be signaling that they take their work seriously and are interested in presenting themselves as professional. On the other hand, someone in more casual attire may be signaling that they value comfort or are taking a more relaxed approach. Social or casual attire. Someone in bright casual clothing may be signaling openness, enthusiasm, or a desire to engage in social interactions. If they choose comfortable, understated clothes, it may suggest they are feeling laid back or unconcerned with impressing others. Personal style is an important and often underestimated element of nonverbal communication. By decoding the clothing choices, color preferences, grooming habits, and accessories people wear, you can gain valuable insights into their personality, emotional state, and how they wish to be perceived. Whether someone is making a statement through bold fashion or opting for a more subdued, minimalistic approach, personal style speaks volumes about how they feel about themselves and the world around them. As we continue our journey into nonverbal communication, the next section will focus on how to interpret cultural influences on nonverbal cues, helping you navigate different social dynamics with greater sensitivity and understanding. This deeper awareness will allow you to read people even more accurately and respond with greater empathy. As we delve deeper into the art of decoding human behavior, we arrive at a crucial aspect of nonverbal communication: cultural influences. This section will highlight how culture shapes the way we express emotions, communicate nonverbally, and interpret the behaviors of others. Understanding cultural differences is vital because the signals and gestures that are familiar to you might have entirely different meanings in other cultures. The power of nonverbal cues is universal, but their interpretation is deeply rooted in cultural context. When you learn to recognize cultural influences on behavior, you unlock the ability to communicate with more sensitivity, understanding, and respect. You'll be able to navigate social situations with greater awareness, ensuring that your gestures, facial expressions, and body language are understood as you intend them, while also interpreting others' nonverbal signals with accuracy and empathy. Culture is the collective values, norms, beliefs, and customs shared by a group of people. It influences everything from the way we dress and eat to how we express emotions and interact with others. Culture provides a framework through which we understand the world and communicate with each other, shaping not only what we say, but also how we say it and how we interpret the words and actions of those around us. Nonverbal cues, whether it's body language, facial expressions, or tone of voice, are often informed by the culture in which a person is raised. For example, a gesture or expression that signals respect in one culture may signal something entirely different in another. Without understanding cultural differences, we risk misinterpreting these signals, which can lead to miscommunication or even offense. To understand the role of culture in nonverbal communication, let's take a look at a few key areas where cultural differences are most evident: eye contact, personal space, and gestures. 1. Eye contact, a universal but varied gesture. In many Western cultures, eye contact is seen as a sign of attentiveness, honesty, and confidence. A direct, steady gaze is often interpreted as an indication that a person is engaged and trustworthy. However, in some Asian cultures, prolonged eye contact can be seen as disrespectful or confrontational, especially when directed toward elders or authority figures. Instead, in these cultures, people might avert their gaze as a sign of respect or humility. For example, in Japan, avoiding direct eye contact, particularly in formal or hierarchical situations, can be interpreted as a sign of deference. Conversely, in North America and many European countries, avoiding eye contact may be viewed as a lack of interest or dishonesty. These cultural differences underscore the importance of context when interpreting eye contact. When interacting with people from different cultures, it's essential to be aware of how eye contact is perceived and adjust accordingly to avoid unintentionally sending the wrong message. 2. Personal space, the distance that defines us. Another area of nonverbal communication that varies across cultures is the concept of personal space. In some cultures, people are comfortable with close physical proximity during conversations, while in others, individuals prefer more distance to maintain personal boundaries. This difference is often referred to as the proxemic behavior, the study of personal space and how it's used in communication. In Latin American and Middle Eastern cultures, people tend to have a smaller personal space bubble and are comfortable standing closer to one another, even during casual conversations. Physical proximity is often seen as a sign of warmth, friendship, or closeness. In contrast, Northern European and North American cultures tend to value personal space and privacy, often maintaining a larger distance between individuals. Standing too close to someone in these cultures might make them feel uncomfortable, especially if there is no personal relationship. Understanding these cultural differences in personal space can help you avoid making others feel uncomfortable or even unintentionally aggressive. Being attuned to the physical distance others prefer is an important aspect of cultural sensitivity. 3. Gestures, universal or unique. Gestures are another powerful form of nonverbal communication, but their meanings can vary widely across cultures. A gesture that is innocuous or even friendly in one culture can be offensive or disrespectful in another. For example, in the United States, the thumbs-up gesture is a positive sign of approval, but in some Middle Eastern countries and parts of Africa, the same gesture is an insult. Similarly, the peace sign, made by holding up 2 fingers in a V shape, is generally seen as a sign of goodwill in many Western cultures. But if the palm is facing inward, toward the person making the gesture, it can be seen as highly offensive in places like Australia and New Zealand. Likewise, the OK sign, where the thumb and forefinger form a circle, can be a positive, affirming gesture in many cultures. But in places like Brazil, it is considered an obscene gesture. This variation in the meaning of gestures highlights the importance of cultural awareness when interacting with people from different backgrounds. It's essential to recognize that what may be interpreted as friendly or neutral in your culture could be seen as rude or inappropriate in another. Cultural differences in nonverbal communication aren't inherently good or bad. They simply reflect different ways of expressing emotions, values, and social norms. As you continue to refine your ability to decode nonverbal behavior, it's essential to approach cultural differences with a non-judgmental mindset, rather than interpreting someone's body language, facial expressions, or gestures based solely on your own cultural framework. Take the time to consider their cultural context. This will help you avoid jumping to conclusions and ensure that you're accurately interpreting the signals they're sending. Here are a few tips for enhancing your cultural sensitivity when reading nonverbal cues. Do your research. If you're interacting with someone from a culture that's unfamiliar to you, take the time to learn about their norms and customs. Understanding the basic principles of their nonverbal communication will help you navigate conversations with greater ease. Observe and adapt. Pay attention to how people from different cultures behave and adjust your own nonverbal cues accordingly. For example, if someone from a culture with more reserved body language is speaking to you, try to match their tone and distance to create a comfortable space for communication. Ask questions. When in doubt, it's okay to ask someone about their preferences. For example, if you're unsure about how much eye contact to make, you can politely ask them about their cultural norms or how they prefer to engage. In today's globalized society, we frequently interact with people from a wide range of cultural backgrounds, whether you're traveling abroad, collaborating with international colleagues, or meeting new people from different countries. Being aware of cultural differences in nonverbal communication is more important than ever. Understanding the role of culture in decoding nonverbal behavior allows you to build more meaningful connections, foster better relationships, and communicate with respect and empathy. It's a skill that not only enhances your ability to read others accurately, but also helps you to adjust your own nonverbal signals to ensure you're understood in diverse cultural settings. Cultural influences are an inextricable part of human communication. Understanding how culture shapes our nonverbal cues, whether it's eye contact, personal space, or gestures, allows us to engage more effectively with others from different backgrounds. It helps us avoid miscommunication, build rapport, and ensure that our signals are interpreted as we intend. In the next section, we'll explore how to put everything together and develop your skills in interpreting and responding to nonverbal signals with greater precision and empathy. By mastering these tools, you'll be able to navigate complex social dynamics with confidence and create more authentic, connected relationships. We've journeyed through the intricacies of nonverbal communication, decoding body language, micro-expressions, and the emotional signals that underpin our daily interactions. We've learned how different cues reveal more about a person's feelings and intentions than words alone can express. But now, it's time to put everything together. In this final section, we'll focus on how to interpret and respond to nonverbal signals in a way that enhances your ability to connect with others. By mastering these skills, you will not only become more adept at reading people, but also create more meaningful, empathetic relationships. The goal of this section is to help you integrate everything you've learned and develop a more holistic approach to understanding nonverbal cues. We'll discuss how to interpret nonverbal signals in real time and use them to build rapport, make better decisions, and communicate more effectively. Nonverbal communication is often the key to unlocking the true meaning behind a conversation. And once you develop your skills, you'll be able to navigate social dynamics with ease and confidence. One of the first principles to remember when interpreting nonverbal signals is to read the whole person. We tend to focus on individual cues, like a smile, a crossed arm, or an increase in vocal pitch. But these cues are only part of the picture. Nonverbal communication works in clusters, a combination of cues that work together to reveal the true message. A person's body language, facial expressions, eye contact, and tone of voice all play a role in telling a story, and it's essential to observe these cues in relation to one another. For example, if someone is talking to you with a relaxed, open posture, but their voice is shaky or hesitant, it may indicate they are unsure about what they're saying, despite their outward confidence. If someone maintains steady eye contact while speaking, but then avoids eye contact when answering a direct question, that could suggest they are hiding something, rather than isolating individual behaviors. Take the time to evaluate how all the cues interact to get a clearer understanding of a person's emotions or intentions. Context is the next important factor in interpreting nonverbal signals. A cue might look completely different depending on the environment or the relationship between you and the person you're interacting with. Nonverbal communication is fluid and often shifts according to the context in which it occurs. The same gesture, expression, or behavior can have various meanings depending on whether you're in a casual conversation, a professional setting, or an intimate relationship. For instance, physical proximity can mean different things in different contexts. In a business meeting, closer proximity might signal attentiveness or respect. However, in a social setting, it could be perceived as invasive or overly aggressive. Similarly, a person's facial expressions can take on new meanings, depending on their emotional state and the situation at hand. A smile at a funeral, for example, could indicate awkwardness or nervousness, while a smile at a social gathering likely signals happiness and engagement. When interpreting nonverbal cues, always ask yourself, what is the situation? How does the individual usually behave in this context? Understanding the context ensures that you don't make assumptions based on a single behavior, and instead interpret nonverbal signals with greater accuracy. One of the key takeaways from this journey is the importance of adaptability. People are not static. They change and evolve depending on the context, the situation, and their relationship with you. This means that nonverbal communication is not a one-size-fits-all system. What may seem like a signal of discomfort in one person could be an expression of reluctance or shyness in another. The ability to adapt your interpretations of nonverbal cues to different individuals and situations is crucial. When you interact with someone for the first time, their behavior may be influenced by various factors: nervousness, cultural differences, or unfamiliarity with the environment. Over time, as you get to know them better, you'll begin to notice patterns and become more attuned to their unique nonverbal language. Practice and observation are essential here. The more you expose yourself to different types of nonverbal communication, the more adaptable you will become in interpreting these signals. Once you've read someone's nonverbal cues, the next step is to respond. How you respond to these cues is just as important as the interpretation itself. Effective communication is about creating mutual understanding, and when you respond to nonverbal signals, you can either enhance or hinder that process. 1. Mirroring. One of the simplest and most powerful techniques for building rapport is mirroring, the subtle act of mimicking someone's posture, gestures, or tone of voice. By mirroring, you signal that you are in tune with the other person and empathetic to their emotions. For example, if someone is speaking softly and leaning in, you can match their tone and posture to create a sense of connection. Mirroring creates a feeling of alignment and can help foster a trusting relationship. However, it's important not to overdo it. If your mirroring is too overt, it could be perceived as insincere. Instead, aim for subtlety and naturalness. People will subconsciously pick up on it, and this can help create a sense of comfort and trust. 2. Matching emotions. Another powerful response technique is to match the other person's emotional state. This doesn't mean mimicking their exact behavior, but rather matching the intensity of their emotional expression. If someone is visibly upset, offering them empathy by expressing concern or understanding with a similar emotional tone can help them feel validated. Similarly, if someone is excited and energetic, matching that enthusiasm can help foster a sense of shared positivity. However, it's essential to be mindful of the situation. If someone is upset, you may want to match their tone, but avoid becoming overly emotional yourself. Instead, offer them a calming and supportive response that shows you understand their feelings. 3. Adjusting your nonverbal cues. Sometimes, the most effective response is to adjust your own nonverbal cues to make the other person feel more at ease. If you sense discomfort or anxiety in someone, adjusting your body language to become more open or relaxed can help ease their tension. For instance, if someone is crossing their arms or backing away from you, it might help to soften your posture, lean in slightly, or even smile warmly. This nonverbal shift can signal that you're approachable and understanding, helping to ease their unease. Nonverbal communication plays a crucial role in negotiations and leadership. Leaders and negotiators who are skilled in interpreting nonverbal cues can gain a significant advantage in understanding what others are truly thinking or feeling, even if they're not openly expressing it. In negotiations, for instance, detecting signs of discomfort, hesitation, or hidden emotions can give you insight into how the other party is reacting to your proposal. If someone suddenly stiffens, avoids eye contact, or fidgets, it might be a sign that they're unsure or uncomfortable with your offer. These nonverbal cues could prompt you to adjust your approach, either by addressing their concerns directly or by softening your tone to create a more cooperative atmosphere. Similarly, In leadership, a good leader uses nonverbal cues to inspire and motivate others. Leaders who exhibit open body language, make consistent eye contact, and show empathy through their facial expressions and posture create an environment of trust and respect. By responding to the nonverbal cues of team members, whether through encouragement, concern, or recognition, a leader can effectively steer the team toward success while building strong, supportive relationships. As we wrap up this exploration into nonverbal communication, remember that the ability to decode human behavior is a skill that improves with practice and experience. You've learned how to interpret micro-expressions, recognize emotional signals, and identify cultural influences. You've gained tools to detect deception and manipulate your responses to build rapport and understanding. Now, it's time to integrate everything you've learned into your daily interactions. By focusing on reading the whole person, understanding the context, and adapting your responses, you can navigate social interactions with greater ease, empathy, and effectiveness. Whether you're building relationships, leading teams, negotiating deals, or simply engaging in casual conversations, the ability to read and respond to nonverbal cues will enhance your communication skills and enrich your connections with others. As we conclude this audiobook, I encourage you to continue practicing and honing your skills. Nonverbal communication is a dynamic and evolving skill, one that can elevate your ability to understand others and navigate the complexities of human behavior. By continually refining your observational skills and staying open to learning, you'll become more attuned to the unspoken world around you, enabling you to communicate with greater confidence, insight, and success.